Hey, what's going on, guys? So Lords of the Fallen just got another cleanup pass, and this one is all about co-op, tightening up co-op behavior in Update 1.104. According to the patch notes, one issue that got squashed was a bug where the guest player's level could reset after backing out of the Chrysalis Respect menu during a co-op session, which is exactly the kind of problem that would make anyone nervous about respecing in the middle of multiplayer. Another fix addresses the host player automatically starting a search for a new session after the guest player leaves, which should make the whole drop-in, drop-out process feel less awkward and less disruptive. The update also fixes the situation where both players could get warped back to a previously visited Vestige when the guest player used the rest function, so that weird teleport behavior should be a thing of the past now. On top of that, the guest player being unable to use warp to Vestige in full privilege, non-shared progression co-op sessions has been corrected, and the privilege type itself no longer changes from full to limited when the guest player joins. And honestly, that last part matters more than it might sound like at first. Co-op systems live or die on consistency, and when a game starts changing permissions, shifting session behavior, or putting players in the wrong place, it can turn a fun session into a mess fast. This patch is basically a reassurance that the team is still paying close attention to those edge cases, especially around non-shared progression, where the whole point is to give each player the right balance of independence and cooperation. If you have ever been in a session where one player is trying to move forward cleanly, while the other is dealing with odd menu behavior, broken warps, or session hiccups, you already know how disruptive that can be. So even though this is not a giant content update, it is still the kind of hotfix that makes the game feel more polished and more dependable in actual play. It is also interesting that these fixes line up with earlier community-reported co-op frustrations, especially around the level reset problem, which had been discussed by players for a while before this patch landed. That makes this update feel less like a random tune-up, and more like the developers finally closing the loop on a set of multiplayer headaches people have been running into for some time. So if you are planning to jump back into Lords of the Fallen with a co-op partner, this is one of those updates that is worth knowing about because it is aimed straight at the stuff that can ruin a session without warning. A level reset bug is never a minor inconvenience, a broken warp option is never just a tiny annoyance, and a session system that suddenly behaves differently when someone joins is the exact sort of thing that can kill momentum. What this hotfix seems to be doing is smoothing out those rough spots so the game can actually behave the way co-op players expect it to behave. In other words, the experience should now feel a lot safer for respecing, resting, warping, and switching between session states without wondering whether the game is about to throw a curveball at you. That is the real value here. Not spectacle, not new systems, just practical fixes that make the multiplayer side less frustrating, way more reliable. And for a game where co-op is such a big part of the experience, that kind of maintenance is exactly what players notice the most once they are actually in the middle of a run.